Hey, this is Gavin, the fool trying to be holy, attempting to explain the good in moral relativism and subjectivity, using my own vocabulary, like a foolish vocabulary. And so, the first reason why is that, you know, there's two kinds of mistakes you can make. So, you can believe that you have obtained the purely good, true, right thing. And be searching for the better. So that's a mistake. Like you have obtained it, what's purely good, purely true, purely right, and you continue to seek because you believe in this relativity and subjectivity in which it's always a combination of all of it. That's one kind of mistake. But then the other kind of mistake is that you actually believe that you have found the good, the true, the right, but the mistake is that you haven't. And so then you don't progress. You don't. So which mistake would you rather make? The one where you don't have the purely good, the purely true, and the purely right, and you've stopped looking, or you do have the purely good, the purely true, the purely right, but you continue looking. Which one? And I would suggest that we should be in that stance where we discover purely good, purely true, purely right, but continue seeking. That's the better kind of mistake to make. Now, that's the number one reason for the subjectivity, relativity approach, worldview. The second reason for it is the suggestion that we should love our enemy. And the only way to love our enemy is to be willing to listen to our enemy and try to see if our enemy's worldview is better than ours. Right? And so when you are in the position of seeking out what is better in terms of good, right, true, then you will be more willing to listen and love your enemy. So that's the second reason why relativism and subjectivity. Now, the reason people are scared of relativism and subjectivity is because, we don't want to go to our children and tell them that, it doesn't matter, right? And this is the mistake people are making, and it might be like a very simple mistake. So the worldview is it's the diagnosis. That's different than the prescription. The prescription is love. Love your enemy. Try to increase opportunity and peace in the world. Like, that's an ought. So there's the is ought. So there's an ought on how you ought to behave, and there's an is on how you see the world. And so this moral relativism and subjectivity is a diagnosis of our condition, which may be wrong, but we allow it to possess us because it helps us with our ought, which is to transform towards the good in order to be of service and benefit to the most number of people possible. So, the people get scared because there's some idea that relativity means that all cultures are equal and all morals are equal. And that's not what I mean. What I mean is that all cultures had good and bad, and all people have good and bad. Everything has good and bad. Everything has right and wrong and true and false. Now, the hope and the aim is that the amount of good is increasing and the amount of bad is decreasing. The amount of true is increasing. The amount of false is decreasing. The amount of right is increasing. The amount of wrong is decreasing. And so it's a spectrum which is changing. And so this is why moral relativism, subjectivity as a diagnosis is being suggested by the fool trying to be holy.